Hi, the continuation of the last video. I didn't want to put it all in one video because it might have been ended up being too long. So we're on to informal fallacies. Informal fallacies, arguments that are fallacious for reasons other than structural, formal flaws, and usually require examination of the argument's content. Argument to moderation, false compromise, middle ground fallacy of the mean, argumentum ad temperantium. Assuming that the compromise between two positions is always correct. Continuum fallacy, fallacy of the beard line drawing fallacy. Sorit's fallacy, fallacy of the heap, bald man fallacy. Improperly rejecting a claim for being imprecise. Correlative based fallacies, suppressed correlative. A correlative is redefined so that one alternative is made impossible. Divine fallacy, argument from incredulity, arguing that because something is so incredible or amazing, it must be the result of superior, divine, alien, or paranormal agency. Double counting, counting events or occurrences more than once in probabilistic reasoning, which leads to the sum of the probabilities of all cases exceeding unity. Equivocation. The misleading use of a term with more than one meaning, by glossing over which meaning is intended at a particular time. It's like everyone says, oh no, the earth is round. That doesn't mean spherical though, does it? You can have a coin that's round. Yeah? You can have a donut that's round. It's not a sphere. You can have a hula hoop that's round. It's not a sphere. Yeah? So they're using these words and they've changed the meaning of the word level. Level to everybody means horizontal, level. Yeah? On the level, horizontal. Yeah? But to science it means curvature. It means level to the centre of the earth. So basically it means curving. So basically they've changed the meaning of the word level. Yeah? Same as the word theory. We think theory is just an idea in your head. But science has changed the meaning of the word theory to mean something different. To mean, no, it is what it is. That's the theory. That's what it is. But no, they've changed the meaning of a word. The only reason why you change the meaning of words and use this equivocation, fallacy, is when you're trying to deceive people or you're trying to sow confusion in people. Yeah. Ambiguous middle term. A common ambiguity in syllogisms in which the middle term is equivocated. Definitional retreat. Changing the meaning of a word to deal with an objection raised against the original wording. Mote and Bailey fallacy. The arguer conflates two similar positions, one modest and easy to defend, the mote, and one much more controversial, the Bailey. The arguer advances the controversial position, but when challenged, they insist that they are only advancing the more modest position. Fallacy of accent. A specific type of ambiguity that arises when the meaning of a sentence is changed by placing an unusual prosodic stress, or when in a written passage it's left unclear which word the emphasis was supposed to fall on. Ecological fallacy. Inferences about the nature of specific individuals are based solely upon aggregate statistics collected for the group to which those individuals belong. Etymological fallacy. Reasoning that the original or historical meaning of a word or phrase is necessarily similar to its actual present-day usage. I can say I've been guilty of that because I've always put, even the word aqua, the etymology of the word aqua literally means even level surface. And I've used that before. So I've actually used that fallacy by doing that. I'll admit to that. I've now realised that, so I don't use that fallacy no more. But it's still true though. That's what the word aqua means. But it's a fallacy to use that in an argument. Basically, it says here. So, fallacy of composition, assuming that something true or part of a whole must also be true of the whole. Fallacy of division, assuming that something true of a thing must also be true of all or some of its parts. Excuse me. False attribution, An advocate appeals to an irrelevant, unqualified, unidentified, biased, or fabricated source in support of an argument. Fallacy of quoting out of context. Contextotomy, quotation mining, refers to the selective excerpting of words from their original context in a way that distorts the source's intended meaning. False authority, single authority, using an expert or dubious credentials, or using only one opinion to sell a product or idea related to the appeal to authority, not always fallacious. Well, I disagree with that. I think it's always fallacious to appeal to authority, because you don't know if that, even if someone's an expert in a field, you don't know if they've got financial gain behind what they're doing. You don't know if they've got a motive, an agenda behind what they're doing, do you? So it's a fallacy. It don't matter what authority you appeal to, it's a fallacy. Yeah, because that expert is getting paid for being that expert, right? If he comes out and says something different to what people believe to be true, then basically they're going to, they're going to lose the job, lose the funding, lose loads of stuff, so they're going to carry on with that course of action, which is a fallacy in itself, which I'll show in the next video. It might not be the next one, it might be the one after, because I'm going to do another video on the master list of logical fallacies. I'm not going to do them all, but I'm going to do quite a few of them, and I'm going to leave a link. False dilemma, false dichotomy, fallacy of bifurcation, black or white fallacy. Two alternative statements are held to be the only possible options, when in reality there are more. This is why I say, because of the black and white fallacy, everyone's saying it's either flat or it's a globe. It could be something in between, it could be anything else. Yeah? We don't know. We know it's not what they tell us it is. We know it's not a globe. We know it's not what they tell us it is. But what is it? We don't know. There's no map. There's no model. We haven't got a clue. Yeah? It could be something different. It could be a level plane inside a sphere. We don't know. Yeah? So until we have full exploration. So to say it's either flat or a globe is the black or white fallacy. The either or fallacy. Yeah? That's logically fallacious in itself. Yeah? False equivalence. Describing a situation of logical and apparent equivalence when in fact there is none. We get that a lot from these globers when they say, look at the sky, look at the sky. No, we're here on the earth, we're on the ground. We don't live in the sky. Well, I don't anyway. I don't know about these globe earthers. I don't live in the sky. The Theocentric religion believers, they keep saying, look at the sky. No, look at the earth. Look at the substance on the earth. Look at the water. Look at how we have pressure. Look at water. Measure. Find some curvature on the ground, because you can measure it, because you can use the Pythagorean theorem, so you can measure it. Yeah. Then you can take into account all the other bits, like atmospheric conditions and all the other stuff. Yeah. Historians' fallacy. The assumption that decision makers of the past viewed events from the same perspective and had the same information as those subsequently analysing the decision. Not to be confused with presentism, which is a mode of historical analysis in which present-day ideas such as moral standards are projected into the past. Historical fallacy. A set of considerations is thought to hold good only because a completed process is read into the context of the process, which conditions this completed result. Homunculus fallacy. A middleman is used for explanation. This sometimes leads to regressive middlemen. Explains without actually explaining the real nature of a function or a process. Instead, it explains the concept in terms of the concept itself, without first defining or explaining the original concept. Explaining thought as something produced by a little thinker, a sort of homunculus inside the head, merely explains it as another kind of thinking, as different but the same. Inflation of conflict. The experts of a field of knowledge disagree on a certain point. So the scholars must know nothing, and therefore the legitimacy of their entire field is put to question. If by whiskey. An argument that supports both sides of an issue by using terms that are selectively emotionally sensitive. Incomplete comparison. Insufficient information is provided to make a complete comparison. Inconsistent comparison. Different methods of comparison are used, leaving a false impression of the whole comparison. Intentionality fallacy. The insistence that the ultimate meaning of an expression must be consistent with the intention of the person from whom the communication originated. Example, a work of fiction that is widely received as a blatant allegory must necessarily not be regarded as such if the author intended it not to be so. Kettle logic, using multiple, jointly inconsistent arguments to defend a position. Ludic fallacy, the belief that the outcome of non-regulated random occurrences can be encapsulated by a statistic. A failure to take into account unknown unknowns is determining the probability of events taking place. McNamara fallacy, quantitative fallacy, making a decision based only on quantitative observations, discounting all other considerations. Mind projection fallacy, subjective judgments are projected to be inherent properties of an object, rather than being related to personal perceptions of that object. Moralistic fallacy, inferring factual conclusions from purely evaluative premises in violation of fact-value distinction. For instance, inferring is from ought is an instance of moralistic fallacy. Moralistic fallacy is the inverse of naturalistic fallacy defined below. Moving the goalposts, raising the bar. Argument in which evidence presented in response to a specific claim is dismissed, and some other, often greater evidence is demanded. We get that a lot from these globe earthers, trolls and that. They're like, we show them there's no measurable curvature. Yeah? We show them the properties of water, the physics of water and everything else. And then they go off into the red herring fallacy and stuff like that. Look at the stars, look at the stars. You know what I mean? No, like I say, we're down here on the ground. We don't live in the sky. Yeah, we've shown you that stuff. What more do you want? Oh, but you've got to do it even further. You've got to see even further, or you've got to see this, or you've got to do this, or you've got to do that. No, you're moving the goalposts. You're raising the bar, moving the goalposts constantly. Nirvana fallacy, perfect solution fallacy. Solutions to problems are rejected because they are not perfect. Onus probandi, from the Latin onus probandi, incumbit e we dicit non e we negat. The burden of proof is on the person who makes the claim, not on the person who denies or questions the claim. I hope you're listening to this, trolls. Yeah? The burden of proof is on the person who makes the claim, not on the person who denies or questions the claim. It is a particular case of the argumentum ad ignorantium fallacy. Here the burden is shifted on the individual. Like I said, I'm not a person, nobody's a person, you're all men and women, you're individuals. Individual defending against the assertion, also known as shifting the burden of proof. That's onus probandi. Proof of assertion. A proposition is repeatedly restated regardless of contradiction, sometimes confused with argument from repetition. Argumentum ad infinitum, argumentum ad nauseam. I've been accused of being ad nauseam when I keep pointing out these fallacies to these trolls. But the truth is repetitive, I'm afraid. You're not listening, you're not taking it in because you're paid to not take it in and not listen. You're paid to argue against it. I had some trolls the other day on a channel, and he says, "Oh, you're what they call it. We can see through all your bullshit because you're just repeating fallacies and all this stuff." I says, "So you think logical? So you think that thinking logically and being logical and pointing out your false logic and your sophism and stuff like that is bullshit, is it?" It says a lot about you then, doesn't it? I left in the comment. Never heard anything back. Because it does, it says a lot about them. If they think thinking logically and not being a sophist and stuff like that is bullshit, then it says a lot about them, doesn't it? Yeah? Proof of assertion. A proposition is repeatedly restated regardless of... we've already done that one. Right, that's an ad nauseum one. Prosecutor's fallacy. A low probability of false matches does not mean a low probability of some false match being found. Proving too much. Using a form of argument that, if it were valid, could be used to reach an additional invalid conclusion. Psychologist's fallacy. An observer presupposes the objectivity of their own perspective when analysing a behavioural event. Referential fallacy, assuming all words refer to existing things and that the meaning of words reside within the things they refer to, as opposed to words possibly referring to no real object, or that the meaning of words often comes from how they are used. Excuse me. Reification, concertism, hypostatization, or the fallacy of misplaced correctness. Concreteness. A fallacy of ambiguity when an abstract belief or hypothetical construct is treated as if it were a concrete, real event or physical entity. In other words, it is the error of treating as a real thing something that is not a real thing, but merely an idea. Well, doesn't that explain the globe? The heliocentric model. Reification. Because they're what they call it. It's when an abstract belief or hypothetical construct is treated as if it were a concrete, real event or physical entity. In other words, it is the error of treating as a real thing something that is not a real thing, but merely an idea. And that's what the heliocentric model is. It's just an idea. It's a theoretical construct. It's an idea. And people treat it as a real thing. So basically they're using that. Reification. Yeah? Retrospective determinism. The argument that because an event has occurred under some circumstances, the circumstance must have made its occurrence inevitable. Special pleading. A proponent of a position attempts to cite something as an exemption to a generally accepted rule or principle without justifying the exemption. Right, I'm going to do the next bit about improper premise on the next video. Thanks for watching.